Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Opinion Machine, the show where we talk about all things gaming, and my name is Killjoy, and today I want to be taking a look at the Cool Spot soundtrack. Thinking, what's Cool Spot? Well, Cool Spot was a game on the Super Nintendo and with the Mega Drive. It was a platformer, and Spot is, at the time, I believe in America, was used to advertise 7-Up. So it's kind of like a mascot platformer. It's a game that I really enjoyed, but specifically I wanted to look at the music because I've got 3 examples here of tracks from the game, and they're all very different. And something about Cool Spot is that pretty much every level has a different style of music. We've got like a sort of reggae track style one here to start with, we've got a kind of rock one, and then we've got kind of an electro track. The soundtrack, as I recently found out, was done by Tallarico, who is the guy who did the Earthworm Jim soundtrack. He's now the guy who's in charge of the Intellivision Amico that's coming out. Like, this guy's got a really good like backlog of tracks and stuff he's done. If you've never heard the Earthworm Jim soundtrack, go check out that as well. But yeah, we're going to kick things off. We're going to listen to Shell Shocked. I think it's called Shell Shocked, the first level. And I'll just kind of go over it, kind of analyze it, but also I just want to show the difference between, like, how good this soundtrack is, in my opinion, and how diverse the soundtrack is. So let's get to it. I mean, it's not often you hear a lot of music in games that has a very sort of reggae influence. There are tracks there, but you've got that kind of steel drum sound going on there as well. But that blap 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 blap, very kind of syncopated, classic kind of thing. This track's kind of in 2 halves, as you'll see. But like, this is the beach level. Yeah, I should probably. This is on a. You're either in a sand pit or on a beach or something. There's crabs. There's like a beach chair. It's very much like that. Boom. But you got a very. Something I've said before. It's very important that platformer music is either very catchy or has a very what would you call it, like boppiness to it. Like, it's like, oh, I can like kind of groove along to this, which this track has. And that kind of like the main melody sounds like they're using the steel drum thing cut up a lot. But yeah, so far so good, just straightforward. And then there's this weird change in this track. Now, though not every track does this, but it changes into a much more like straight. I think it loses the syncopation, if I'm right, and just goes more straightforward. We've got a fake cowbell. The bass line coming in hard there. Yeah, it's sped up as well. But it's showing that it's like this particular influence, and then it goes back to the beginning part. The track itself isn't that long, I don't think. It's only a couple. I'll see if it loops again, but it's cool. It's a really good way of opening up a first level, actually, because it's not often that you get this style of music, like I said, in a lot of games. So to open it up with this very specific aesthetic. Now, the cool thing about Cool Spot is that most of the levels in the game aren't your generic like grass world, you know, like how Mario tends to do it. You've got like a beach level, you've then got a bathtub level, you've got a toy level, you've got a train level, you've got a cellar, or is it an attic? It's one of the two, which we'll get to. All the settings are very different, and so each one deserves to have its own tune. But like, as you can tell here, this track is pretty much just influenced by that Caribbean style, like mostly reggae influences there, but probably some other things going on. But yeah. And that's pretty much it. That track is the slower sort of start, and then it goes into the faster section. But it's something that I really like this track. I think this is a great way to start off a game. It's a very jolly, very, very upbeat and very, very jolly, and it's what platform... some platformers, I think, miss the mark on the first level, and then they'll have great music later on. I can think of quite a few good, platformers now that really do have... that absolutely nail it. But yeah, I wanted to show off this, and I'm going to switch over to the next track so you can see how significantly different it is, and then we'll show the last one and show that as well. Alright, so we've got Off the Wall, because you got being cool at the time. This is probably my favourite piece of music from the game. I think this stands out above every other track in the game. This is much more of a rock track, or that's how I would define it. Very, very slappy kind of bass line, and has a very obvious riff, which will kick in as soon as I hit play. So let's listen to it. How many seconds are we in? 15 seconds of that track, to me, set up. To me, that's like, this is going to be a good track, because you've got the ba-da-ba-ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da repeated with an extra layer on it, and then you've got the bass line play underneath it, and the bass is a very prominent part of this track, and then comes in with this very 80s sounding drum kit, and just really sets a very different tone to the first level, very much more heavier in your face kind of tone. And this level, like I said, is you're in like a basement. There's like cobwebs, spider enemies, mice chucking cheese at you, screws, tacks. Very dark level. And with this one, there's a much more obvious melody. With the first track, there is a melody there, but this one's just straight there in your face. You've got a bit of breathing room in the music. Kick and the bass come in. So the track's all bass now. It's the driving force of the track. And then we're bringing in, I don't know what that instrument would be, but that kind of like that little kind of like playing the bottles, it all sounds like. I really, really like the fact that this track has that kind of, I don't know if it's part of the melody or not, but the chord riff, the da 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 da, and like that constantly plays throughout the track. So you kind of got this easy to hum part, easy to get stuck in your head, with the bass going boom, 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 boom. You know, there's a lot going on in this track. And it ends nicely. Get ends with the bass. Back into it. And that loops beautifully. It's one of my favourite loops in the track. But you can see, like, this already, this game's got the sort of more reggae influenced one. We've got this kind of like funkiness to this track, more rock influenced. And this is, I mean, I'm only picking 3 tracks from the game. There's a rock and roll track in this game. There's a western style piece in this game. There's, I don't know what you would call it. There's like a particular, the toy level's got a very particular music. There's a level where you're like spinning on these rails, like up and down as well. But for the final example, I'm going to show off the bonus game, which is much more of what I would consider like an electronic dance track. So we'll switch over to that. Alright, so this one is just called bonus level, apparently. I don't know what its actual name is, but this is, again, vastly different to the other two. So this is why I picked this one, because it's like, you know, the bonus games are also fun, but yeah, this is much more electronic inspired. Just that alone sounds 90s dance music to me. That blah 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 blah, and then you got that behind it, and it continues to build. I love it. Bass comes in there, driving behind it. Just to set the scenes, I forgot to mention this. This is inside of a 7-Up can or whatever it is, and you have to bounce on the bubbles to reach the top to grab, I think it's a letter, and it just works so well. And you're about to hit the main melody coming now. But I can imagine this being played with like huge synths, very arpeggiated synths and things like that. There's so many little nuances to these tracks, which I love. I love it. Such a great bonus game track. It's like bobbing my head as I'm listening to this. This is awesome. Alright, so I mean, to be honest, the tracks themselves aren't that long, you know? It is what it is. I mean, it's what makes me appreciate the music in this game, and having played it as a kid, was just how vastly different it is. There's a track called Peer Pressure, which is much more like a rock and rolly track. You've then got the 12-bar blues. Like, the music itself is just like on another level. However you feel about the game, the actual soundtrack is creative and interesting, and I think that's why it's always been one of those games that stuck out in my head all these years later, even for a game that is based on a mascot or like a licensed character. But yeah, I picked these because I was like, you know what, like, this is a game that I think people should just check out the soundtrack to. Check out the game, but like, the fact that you've got different styles, we've got more of a funky, rockier one, we've got an electronic style one, we've got a more reggae influenced one. I wouldn't be surprised. I've heard some remixes of some of this stuff, like modern remixes, and they're great. But like I said, there's a rock and roll track in there, there's a blues one, there's the western one, which is also really, really good. Like, everything's very heavily inspired based on the stages they're on, but absolutely worth listening to. There's also the Mega Drive versions of these. I don't know if the Cool Spot was on anything else. I think it might have been. I think it was on Game Boy and Game Gear and possibly the Amiga as well. So there are different versions if you want to hear the other styles of music and things. But for me, I just really like these soundtracks. I just want to kind of like highlight them, put them in a video, and just be like, hey guys, check out these check out the music to this game. It's really, really cool. I definitely want to highlight individual games going forward of stuff that either I grew up with or stuff that I've been played recently where it's like the soundtracks are that good. And I think the soundtrack for this game is great, and I think more people should listen to it. So hopefully you guys will go and check this out. It's not many tracks. It's probably what, 10 tracks in total, but worth it in my opinion. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. As always, if you like the video, hit like. If you want to see more content like this, then hit subscribe. Links for Facebook and Twitter will be down below in the description as always, and until next video, I will see you then.